Alright, I'm back at it again, this time doing 3.2, and what I'm going to go over is the creation of the Tang Dynasty and the fall of the Han, the Mongols, Japan, and major conflicts that happened during this era. Okay, so the first thing that happens after the creation of the Tang Dynasty and the fall of the Han is the creation of the equal field system. In this, basically the government owned all the land, but redistributed it constantly to prevent families of taking over all the land through hereditary systems. But it didn't last too long since they started some of the more wealthier families started to bribe the government or make fake documents to keep the land when all the redistribution would happen. They also made the tributary states, which is basically a more complex tribute system to allow them to control more troublesome land more easily. Basically, it made them vassal states, if you know what that is. And it was a pretty good system overall, but it eventually fell out of shape, if you want to call it like that. After the Tang began to decline, those tributary states were easily able to break out of their control. Japan didn't relatively do much at this time, as well as Korea and Vietnam. They basically were trying to they were either trying to or being forced to copy China. Japan, they more or less accepted China by themselves. They did the Taika reforms, which were basically trying to emulate China as close as possible. They adopted the equal field system, they centralized the state with Confucianism, and they even adopted Chinese writing, which eventually evolved to its own Japanese writing that we know today. But another big thing that they did was Japanese feudalism. It's basically the same concept as the whole lord and knights that we see in Western Europe, but here, instead of making an actual contract that knights made, samurai, which were the Japanese knights, did their contracts completely based on honor, which actually shows how honor-based Japan was at that time. Okay, finally are the major conflicts with China of the Tang Dynasty versus the Abbasids of the Islamic Empire. This included the Battle of Talas in 751, which basically determined who would control Central Asia, and who would know? Muslims win. So this basically determines that Central Asia would be Islamic, and they also the Abbasids also learned how to make paper from Chinese prisoners, and they keep it from Europe as long as they could. The next big conflict was the Zheng. Well, if you want to call it conflict, it's more like a military expedition by Zheng He, an admiral from the Ming Dynasty that went across the Indian Ocean to impress China's wealth and to make other civilizations pay tribute to China for the right to pay/trade for silk and porcelain. Basically, the right to trade with China. Eventually, a new emperor came in and withdrew the funds from the expeditions of Zheng He, making him come back to China and stay there. Yeah, the new emperor thought that Zheng He was stealing those funds for himself and not doing anything good with that. So the only thing that's left are the Mongols, which I'm only going to go over the technologies and concepts they made. The first and most important being the Yasa, which is a law that protected the religious entity and trade. This allowed for anyone to follow any religion and trade wherever they wanted. It was basically the Pax Mongolia to the Pax Romana. The Mongols also had amazing equestrian skills and also made the bridle, which basically allowed them to stand up while riding a horse and shoot their bows with amazing accuracy, which allowed them to destroy enemies in the battlefield, like the Islamic Caliphate, the Seljuk Turks, and China. They also had military organization that evolved to what is now basically the whole platoons, squads, battalions that we see today. I don't know the names of these because I wasn't able to find a reliable source for them,